notepads away. I'm starting to get arthritis because I definitely do not have writer's block. And welcome to another episode of the Going Over podcast. What are we at, Paul? 106, 107?
Well, it's 108, 108.
Where have I been? Where have I been? I'll tell you where I've been. I'll tell you. It's your neighborhood friendly coach, trainer, promoter, 44-year-old professional wrestler, Zack Primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, the 7-foot wrecking ball, Paul Isadora. Paul, how are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm doing good, man. So we got last night, we had our high school daughter that was playing in a very crosstown rival game, close game. We ended up pulling it out. Just some fantastic play by some of the girls. So that was exciting. Today, one of my daughters bought her first car with her own money. So that was cool. And then I also found out that one of my other daughters is just a couple months away from paying off the first car that she purchased with her own money. So lots of excitement, man. Just it's like the proud dad moments, man.
Proud Papa.
You know, you just you know, my wife and I always kind of joke around like there's no instruction manual to raising kids, man. And it's just like, especially with our oldest, man, it's like, you know, this is our first time, and you know, we did the best that we possibly could with the information that we had and what we thought was best and all those things. And you know, at some point you just cross your fingers and go, man, I just hope I'm doing a good enough job. And you know, and I've heard you talk about how you know, how strongly you feel about your dad, and I feel like for me it's you know, I felt like I had a really strong father figure, and you know, not that I always agreed with him, but he once told me, the older you get, the smarter I get. You know, so a little bit of that is just the realization of all the things that your dad said to you that you thought was bullshit at one point, and then you realize you get later in life that your dad was on with so many things that he said. So he used to be, you know, half the dad that he was. I would feel like I was a very accomplished father. So it's these things that you see, like, you know, further on in life where you go, you look back and you say, hey, I probably did a pretty good job, and you're proud of what's going on. And you know, in my case, the women that my older daughters are becoming, and so a lot of excitement for me just in life these last couple days.
Shake your phone a little bit because it was getting staticky. Were you a young dad? I'm trying to do the math right now. I think your oldest daughter is like 22, right?
Right, I wasn't a young dad. I got married at 25.
Yeah.
We had our first daughter, I think I was probably 27, so not super young, I don't think, you know, compared to I see so many people having kids before they can legally have their first alcoholic beverage. So
way before,
in perspective, I think I was right. Yeah.
Way before.
So
I was adopted, so the biological mother was very young, you know what I mean, and by that I mean very young, and that's why when you see say hailing from he's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that's because I am from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I only lived there for 3 days, gone back a few times, but congratulations on that, man, because that is exciting news, man. And I always say Paul's a really good dad. He's a really good family man. You know, and you don't lose those things. And speaking of dads, it leads perfectly into what I wanted to talk about, and it's Big Daddy Cool Diesel. and I found a squash match. With prospects coming up, and you're trying to explain to people. And I thought this would be a really good topic today because there's so much young talent out there, and there's so much young talent, and everything nowadays is like 60-40, 50-50 when it comes to being in the ring. And I watched this Diesel squash match. And I believe it's Jim Ross and it's Vince McMahon, and they're calling the action. It's definitely superstars. And Rad Radford's in the ring. Oh, Rad Radford's in the ring. And the music hits, and Vince McMahon goes, "Oh, everybody, it's Big Daddy Cool Diesel." And he hasn't been in a very good mood lately, but he's on his way to In Your House this Saturday because he's accepted the Owen Hart Open Challenge. And I thought right there, I said, okay, I looked at the time on this squash match, and I'm already knowing this squash match has a fucking purpose. There is a reason for this squash match, not just to see Diesel and he's coming out and they're getting over the black glove, and he lost to Brett, and if he's got a new attitude, and if you got a black glove, he'll pound your fist, and if you don't, he just won't hit you. He won't acknowledge you. And I already know that this squash match is to promote In Your House, and it's to promote Diesel looking strong and getting his story over, taking on Owen Hart. And the match starts, and they lock up. And Diesel's like, "Come on, bring it." And he locks up with Radford, and Radford like hits him with a knee and a couple little punches, and Diesel no-sells it and starts just kneeing him in the gut across the ring violently, and he gets him back in the corner, hits him with like 3 big ones. I mean, he's intense. And then he turns around and he starts those 3 or 4 of those vicious back elbows, and he's really putting a hammer into him. And Vince goes, "Is this going to be the fate of Owen Hart this Saturday at In Your House?" And then he picks him up, and Jim Ross comes in, and Jim Ross goes, "Well, Owen Hart's going to have to use his speed and his quickness to stay out of those corners," as Diesel whips him across the ring and follows him in like a freight train with the clothesline. Radford sells, gives Diesel a brief moment to get over while the announcers say a couple more things about Brett and Sean, whips him off the rope, gives him a big boot perfectly into the camera, which Radford sells the fuck out of, and gives Diesel time to turn around and get into the main frame and hold the big fist up. Powerbomb, jackknife, stands on him, 1, 2, 3, and they put over that this Saturday Diesel takes on Owen Hart. And I said in my head, what a perfect squash match for a big guy going in after a big loss at the next event. That squash match was purposely done to tell the story, give the audience an idea and a reason why we're going to watch and buy this pay-per-view In Your House, why we want to see Owen Hart, the King of Hearts, versus Diesel. And I just thought, man, Superstars Wrestling Challenge, WCW Saturday Night, they were building up these talents and giving the enhancement guys an opportunity, the young guys or journeymen, to get better. But no significant moves, man. You might counter a hammerlock, you might get a sunset flip, but the importance, we've talked about it many times before, but the importance of understanding when you show up to a company, I need you to get my talent over, right? And I'm going to say one more thing before I let you go. I'm sorry. If I was to be at one of those 3-minute WWE makes you get in the ring for 3 minutes, right? Give us a 3-minute match. If I was to be at one of those tryouts and they were to say, you're working with Big Paul, I wouldn't be worried about a super kick or anything else. I would go in there for 3 minutes, make you look like a fucking monster, and I would probably get hired because they'd be like, this guy understood the task we asked him. We wanted to see if this 7-foot guy, if he could make him look like a 7-foot monster, and he did his job in 3 minutes very well. So if you're a young wrestler out there, don't feel bad if you show up at a show. Nobody knows who you are. We don't know who you are. And if you can't come in and get that promoter's talent over so that they can start pushing and making money off of this guy, then you really don't hold much value for an outside booking. All right, sorry about that. I was so excited when I saw and I loaded up a couple other squash matches I want to talk about, but take it away, brother.
Well, no, so I mean, you sent me that one as well, so I got to watch it as well. But the thing that I guess was in my mind, I always thought like squash matches were for to get a new talent over, right? Someone that you're just introducing to the fans, and you just want to get them some wins, right? You want to get some dominant victories, so you can build them into something that is perceived as a challenge to someone down the road. But in this case, it's coming off of a loss, right? This is a way to kind of get your heat back a little bit, right? To make you believable again. It's like, okay, well, here you go. This guy got a loss, but look how dominant he is, right? He's going to provide quite the challenge at the next event, and that's why you should buy it. And we've talked about that in the past, like how you're trying to build up talent that is going to be able to sell tickets, or in this case, sell pay-per-view buys. So that's obviously very important, but it's something that I've definitely overlooked as far as when we talk about squash matches. I always think about you're bringing someone in and you're trying to establish them, versus in this case where you're trying to say, hey, that was, this guy, got defeated, but check out how dominant he still is. Like, a hurdle in the road or a speed bump or whatever, but he's coming back strong, and he's going to be quite the contender and things like that. So definitely putting those things in that perspective is awesome. And like you said, man, the guy got very little offense, right? He started off with a couple quick shots, giving you the impression that maybe he was going to be, a competitor, but then Diesel just fucking mollywopped him afterwards, right? But and you're talking about those little sequences where the guy's given some time to sell, right? To kind of get the crowd behind him, or just get the crowd to go, oh shit, man, this guy's kicking the shit out of this other guy. So that's important too, man. It's we always talk about don't die in the ring. A guy shouldn't be just kicking the shit out of you, merciful, with no mercy at all. You're trying to get some shots in there, and then you're trying to go and present your character to the crowd so they can go whatever it is, boo you, cheer you, things like that. So lots of great things in that match that you mentioned, as far as getting the character over, right? Not just kicking the shit out of somebody, but giving them a little breathing room to really get connected with the crowd and present his size and all these different things, right? So and that was the time that Kevin Nash, man, was in just phenomenal shape. He just looked so massive. I just thought it was funny that I think they only said that he was 300 pounds, right? They didn't say he was more than that. You would think like, Kane and Undertaker, they always announced him in the 320 range. I just remember when I was wrestling at Portland Wrestling, and the first time that I showed up there on TV, Dr. Luther introduced me as part of his stable. And he announced me at 7 feet and 350 pounds, right? So, but it's believable, right? Because I came in tank top, just fucking, jacked up, probably nowhere close to 350 pounds, but it's just one of those things where you look at someone, it's hard to determine, like, how big is this dude for real? And if someone gives you an inflated higher weight, you still might believe it. You might go, fuck, man, that guy is enormous. He must be 7 feet 350. So yeah, a lot of great things in that squash match. But you were telling me before we jumped on here about some other squash matches that you saw that there were different circumstances. Let's talk about those.
Well, there was Brett versus the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi. And it was, so that's the athletic babyface squash match against the heel. And then the little window popped up over there with the promo, and the promo was less than 30 seconds. Like, he was like, I'm the excellence of it. I'm Bret the Hitman Hart, and I'm eyeing down contenders for this Intercontinental Championship, or maybe it was a championship, but he said, and I'm going to prove why I am the excellence of execution. It took 30 seconds. Let's see you. Let's hear a little blurb from you when it's time. The announcers are putting it over. We're introducing ourselves to these guys. We're showing the audience what we do, and we're getting over. The other one was a great one with Steve Austin on Saturday night. Stunning Steve. You know, he gave the enhancement talent a little more work, but it's like, you got to look at it like this. Look at like, if you have the opportunity to have smaller shows and you're trying to build your talent up, who's some guys we got going into title matches, right? Like, let's just say Buck and Bay are going up against the Unwanted. Well, if I'm putting some programming together, here Buck and Bay's music hits, and they come out, they do a couple double team moves, and you as the announcer say, hey, this Saturday at Kickstart in their hometown, they got an opportunity to upset the tag team champions and make a really special moment. If they work like this on Saturday, they might just upset the champions. And then they come up in the corner for 30 seconds or less, and he goes, you know what, Zach? We got the opportunity of a lifetime this Saturday in Red Bluff, in our hometown. And then Zach Bay says, and last time we were there, we promised the fans that we were going to be the tag team champions. And then the announcers get to talk. They hit a double finishing move. You put it over one more time. And I looked at the booking and I said, man, it becomes really easy, right? You look ahead and you go, what's my next event? And I have this small show coming up. Who are some guys that are going into this event that I need to get over? That's who the guys are. Those are the 5 or 6 matches that you book on your smaller show, and you get those guys over so that they look strong going in. If I'm getting a title shot, let's just say Diesel was going for a title shot right there, and Diesel wrestles somebody on the programming, and it takes him fucking 5 to 15 minutes to fucking beat this guy that we don't know who he is. Do I really want to watch Diesel wrestle for the title? Because it took him fucking 15 to 20 minutes to beat some guy I don't know who he is, or some guy that's not very good. So we have to build our talent up. And that's where the enhancement work comes in. So for these young guys out there, if you get called for a booking and you go, I don't get much offense, I only got to wrestle for 5 minutes, you're probably not going to come back and get another booking. And the truth is, I don't want to watch 2 guys that haven't been around the business very long wrestle for fucking 8 to 10 minutes. I don't want to. Even if I see a lot of athletic stuff, I'm going to see a lot of rushed action. I noticed it at the Prospect Cup, and we didn't talk much about that, but I saw a couple scenarios where the guys like kind of messed up some chain, right? Like something happened, and then they grabbed the headlock. But what they didn't do was they grabbed the headlock, and you could see him rushing and calling high. They never took the guy out. They never took him over. It's like, take him down. You're going to get control of the match again, and you guys can be down there for about a minute or, whatever. And you can call the spots low and the roll-ups and the head scissors and stuff. And then you can regain and establish control of this. Because if you mess up on your feet and you get to the takeover part, by the time we rise back up, we're going off the ropes and doing some stuff. And I always tell everyone, it was an argument I got in with my coach, and he's like, no, they need to know how to wrestle on the mat first. And I'm like, no, they don't need to learn how to wrestle on the mat first. And it's backwards. What do you do when you get into the ring? The first thing we do, wipe your feet, and this is how you get in the ring. You're standing. A forward roll. You're standing, and then you roll, and then you come back to a forward roll. Whether it's amateur wrestling, Greco-Roman, freestyle, MMA, whatever, you're trying to get your opponent down. You're trying to take your opponent down to the mat to submit them or pin them. We are trying to get away from you so we can get back up to our feet. We don't want to be on the mat, because if we're on the mat, that's where you lose the match. So we're wrestling up here on our feet, and then when we get taken over, we're wrestling on the mat. And when we come back up to our feet, unless we're going to go back to the mat to wrestle some more, that last time we come up to our feet, that's when we start to give them some action off the ropes and start to think about the old cutoff. You know what I mean? So if you're wrestling and you end up down on the mat, when you get back up off the mat, unless you have plans to go back down there again and do another, more wrestling on the mat, eventually when you come up, you're done chain wrestling standing on your feet. You know what I mean? So I just found that I saw it a lot on that night. A lot of these guys are just wrestling standing up, and then they start just doing this. So they have no understanding of the arm drag or the drop toe hold or the waist lock amateur, whatever, headlock takeover. They have no idea that is actually what gets the match settled down, gains control, and gets both guys ready to rise up to head into the rest of the contest. But if you always heard it, I know you heard it too. If things go to hell, grab a hold and go to the mat, right? Take the guy over and reestablish where you are on the mat and say, all right, we didn't do this good. Let's go here. Let's talk about it. When we come back up, we'll start heading in the next direction that we're trying to go in.
Absolutely. So, and I think it's one of those things where, especially the younger guys, man, it's, I don't know how many times I've told people throughout the last 20 years to slow the fuck down, right? Less is more. Like all the, you say all the cliche things that the veterans told us when we were coming up, right? That we thought was bullshit, and you don't know what you're talking about. You're just old. You just want to slow things down because you can't keep up. All these different things that we thought as younger guys. Now we're telling younger guys the same fucking thing. It's this, it's the circle of life, right? So, but it's just crazy how important that is to just slow down, man. It's like, let the crowd absorb what's going on, and just like you said, man, if you fuck something up, man, grab a hold, go to the mat, settle down, catch your breath, whatever it is, man. Because a lot of times it's nerves, man. You get in there, your adrenaline starts flowing. We talk about, the cardio that it takes to be a pro wrestler versus just being like a fit athlete, runner, whatever. You think so many times these guys are like, oh, I run 5 miles every day. And then they get in the wrestling ring, and in 2 or 3 minutes, they're blown the fuck up, right? Because it's just a different type of cardio, man. We have that, I don't know if it's the fight or flight reaction where you get a spike in adrenaline, and now you're breathing hard and heart's beating fast, and all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on. So, and you've talked about breathing so much, man, over the last 107 episodes, the importance of breathing, right? You talk about it in reference to altitude a lot, but breathing and just, keeping yourself relaxed, man. We talk about that all the time. And I just heard someone talking about that when people are cutting promos. It's like they use that. They say, hey, before you cut a promo, take a deep breath, man. Like, just, it settles you down, man. It gets you back focused in on what you're going to talk about, and it relaxes you a little bit and things like that. And it's just so funny because that's a parenting technique that we use. It's like your kids are getting all fired up and, bent out of shape about something, they want to argue about something, or they're crying or whatever. and you just go, hey, sit down, take a deep breath, relax you a little bit,
Yeah.
get you back focused, right? So, it's we can't say it enough, because it doesn't matter how much we say it, it's going to continue to happen, that people are going to go too fast, and obviously we, in many cases, it's the younger guys, the guys that are just kind of, breaking in, or their first couple years, just don't understand the pacing of things, and slowing things down, and grabbing a hold, and and that gives you that opportunity to listen to the crowd, like all the things that we've been talking about, over the past year, as far as things that we want to do in the wrestling ring during a match, slowing down, listening to the crowd, just being relaxed, breathing, not getting blown up, things like that. So, the importance of that is just, I feel like it's super underrated, right? We say it, people brush it off like it's not important, but it is of the utmost importance.
Oh, brother.
When it comes to having a good match, and having good pacing and things like that. So, and I don't know what it is, man. I know you had said it in one episode, that people fuck things up, and all of a sudden they're shooting someone off the ropes, right? You're like, that's the last thing you want to do, is start moving fast when you're already in a state of panic, So, but yeah, definitely something to do. And obviously, we didn't talk about the prospects thing. We talked about the Hall of Fame, and probably didn't talk about everything, right? But I feel like that episode got a lot of really good feedback, right? You had people listening to it and commenting on it, whether it was putting comments on the actual YouTube, the episode, or creating their own. Ugly likes to do his blog talking about the weekend and things like that. So, he had his take on things, which I thought was pretty interesting, and things like that. So, but I think overall, man, good feedback from the episode, good feedback from the Hall of Fame in general. I had a lot of people hit me up asking me if it was recorded, and I said, well, I don't know, because I was pretty sure you were gonna record it, and then it was like, well, I don't want these guys having to hold the GoPro. I just want them to have a good time. So I didn't know the answer to the question. I was just like, oh, I don't know. I'll find out.
Yeah, there was some communication issues, and then Doc had ended up having to run the slide, man, and I didn't know, I 20 minutes before, and I apologized to Doc as a human being, man, because he kind of felt slighted because of that, and I can understand that, man. He didn't get to enjoy the Hall of Fame, which is like, we have a production team, and it just came down to, we don't want to ask people to work to do this, because it's just, like I said, it was a communication issue, and I'll make that up to one of the hardest workers in the game, Doc Haywood. He didn't get a good Hall of Fame experience, man, and I feel like shit for it. You know what I mean? Like, as a human being, I feel like shit for it. Nothing malicious on my part or anything like that. It's just communication. We talk about it in the ring, which, by the way, Hall of Fame next year, we already got the date set. The venue should be the venue should be established. It's going to be a bigger venue, and I already have the headlining act confirmed. Very good conversation on the phone. It's a ways away. I just want to make sure this year, I want to make sure the dinner's bigger. I want to make sure everybody knows about it. I want to make sure everybody gets treated well, and I want to make it an even bigger event than this one was, which was so successful. But as we get along and talk about communication, I noticed we had a great class on Sunday, and I told everybody, I said, all right, let's get these physiques together. I want everybody Monday morning to send me a picture with your shirt off. I don't care who you are. If you're a lady, sports bra, whatever, whatever you wear to the gym. But I want to see these photos, because we're going to work. and I put Larry Cabarol in charge of this. I made Larry at class lift up his shirt. I said, if this 66-year-old man can have abs like this, Larry, you've been talking about this for a long time. Your diet plan, you are in charge of everybody, right? Like, you talk to Larry. This is Larry's thing. And 2 people sent me their pictures. The new kid, Jalen, who I said very serious about this, and Jesse Garcia. And nobody else sent me their picture. And I said in the group, it's like, man, I asked you guys something simple. I didn't even ask you to post it in the group. I asked you to send it to me. Just so we had right now what you look like and where we set up your plan and where you're going. And it baffled me that 98% of my team, guys that want to be pro wrestlers, I gave them a specific, just, hey, we all agreed this is what we're doing. No, 2 people sent it to me. Do you think I would want to work alongside somebody who can't take a simple hey man, tackle? You just decide you're not going to listen to that call? You do something else and we tear our ACL? It's like, that's the problem. I thought about it. It ain't the athleticism. It's not anything else except you got a lot of people out there who can't execute or they don't want to listen, but they think they know better, man. And it's, it's no knock on anybody for working hard or anything like that, but it's just like, hey, man, I've been there. I was telling someone the other day, I'm not telling you this so I can be in control. It's not an ego thing. I'm telling you this because I have fucked this up before. So I'm giving you experience. I'm giving you 26 years of experience to say, hey, don't do that. Here, do 1 move here. Don't do 5. Don't do that move. Do this in the ring. I'm telling you this not because I want to be in control of everything you do. I'm telling you this because I'm trying to help you. So I've noticed a lot that you get the people that want to listen. And how hard do we have to work to do this, right? Like Brian Cage, amazing physique. He was in WWE. He's been a TNA world champion. He's been in AEW. He's won belts all over. He's been everywhere. But not even Brian has really made it to the pinnacle. You know what I mean? He hasn't made it to the top. I've students before I've had. AJ Kirsch, he didn't make it to the top. There's so many people. Kafu, Oliver John. There's all these guys. Myself. There's all these guys that have dedicated their life. Big Ugly, you, Adam Thornstowe, that have worked so hard on their bodies and so hard for multiple decades to get a contract at a major promotion and get to the top of that major promotion, and they didn't make it. So if all these guys I just mentioned, just in the NorCal scene alone, didn't make it, what do you think you have to do to make it? You're going to have to work your ass off every day like this is your life. And if you're not willing to do that, then I can't fuck with you. I'm being serious. I can't fuck with you. If you're going to look me dead in my eye or look any coach in the United States of America in their eye and say that you want to be on WrestleMania or you want to be full gear AEW or on top of the industry, and you're not willing to sacrifice and work hard and listen to what people are saying, sorry, man, I'm here once again to say it's a pipe dream. That's a fucking pipe dream. So I noticed a lot, man. There's a lot of people out there who think they know better. And I don't give a shit if you think you know better than me. Do you think you know better than Shawn Michaels? Do you think you know better than Triple H? Do you think you know better than Daniel Bryan? Do you think do you think you know better than everybody else? Because I'm watching you in locker rooms. You know what I noticed? I wanted to talk about the Prospect Cup. I wanted to give a shout out to Preston Price and Chase Jackson, because those 2 guys sat in their seats and watched on the big monitor the whole fucking show. And then there was a lot of other guys that were fucking grabbing each other's asses and bouncing each other's cocks around and blowing on the penis head. You know what I mean? Like horse playing around and not watching the actual. It's like, dude, we're only here for a couple hours. There's a nice fucking flat screen monitor right here. Why would you not watch what's going on? Especially if you're in a tournament and it's the first round and you're making it to the second round. It's like, why wouldn't you watch the show? There's nothing that pisses me off more than when people don't watch what's going on out there. Like, wrestle my match. I'll see you later. Oh, okay, buddy. Have a good night.
It's crazy, man, because you hear about guys like John Cena being the guy that's, sitting at the monitor or sitting at the curtain or whatever, watching the entire show. And you wonder why that guy's at the fucking top of the business. You just hear about those guys. I know Steve Austin was one of those guys. Taker, those guys are just like, they're watching the product, right? And it's not because, oh, hey, I'm going to learn something from this guy or whatever. It's so you can give some critiques. You can give feedback. You can go, hey, this guy did this in his match. I'm not doing that in my match. This guy did this and it worked. Whatever. There's so much to gain from watching the other matches. And it's crazy that people do have that attitude where they've already wrestled or I think the majority of the time is they're nervous about their match and they got to can all their shit in the back so they don't have time to go watch matches at the curtain, right? Because they don't know what they're going to do in their own match and how they're going to choreograph their whole match and put it together. So that's probably a bigger piece of the pie is that, that we're not getting to that point where we can just go out there and have a match, put the fishbone or the skeleton together of, some things that we're going to, points that we're going to hit and fill in the blanks while we're out there. But the part about how you're like, you think you know better than I do and all these things reminded me just last night. We're watching, my daughter played and then right afterwards, the boys played. And the boys have a very successful program over the past, 10, 15 years. And I hear the coach, they're getting beat. And he's just like, I don't know why you guys aren't playing our brand of basketball. Our brand of basketball is successful. Our brand of basketball works. What you guys are doing, your brand of basketball doesn't work, So I don't know why you guys aren't just doing the simple stuff that we work on in practice, that we talk to you guys about. He was just on a tangent of exactly how you're talking right now. And it's just like, it's not just pro wrestling. It's other things where you have kids that think that they know better, right? And it's crazy to me. You're talking to someone who has a ton of experience, but instead of listening to what they're telling you to do, you're going to go on your own and you're going to do whatever you think is best. And you quickly find out that it doesn't work. What these people with experience are telling you what to do. They're telling you because they've made mistakes. They're telling you because they've had successes. They're ultimately, they are trying to help you do what you want to do at a better level, right? This isn't, I'm yelling at you because you're doing something wrong. I'm telling you that your match sucked because I want to hurt your feelings. All of these things are in an effort that it's constructive criticism. It's in an effort to help you get better at something that you obviously want to do, So, it's mind blowing that the mentality is like that sometimes, that you go, like I just said, a lot of times it's like, oh, you're old. You don't understand what the current product looks like, right? You're old, you played basketball 20 years ago. You don't know how it is right now. You don't know how the game is right now, coach. It's one of those things. And we've, said it over and over and over. It's like the basics of all this stuff has never changed, will never change. It's always going to be, the basics are always going to be the same. And that's all we're trying to tell you is, hey, here's the basic concepts. Here's the things we're trying to accomplish, right? Let's do the fundamental things right. And then you can add your own little twist to it, add your personality, whatever it is, So, but great point, man.
Here's another good point. I ain't never given a blowjob in my life. So if I got a gun to my head and someone's like, hey, you got to give this blowjob right now. Well, if there's someone sitting around me that is good at giving a blowjob, I'm probably going to be like, hey man, how do I give a better blowjob? I'm going to ask the experienced person how to give a better blow. How do I do this, man? How do I get it back there? What do I do? How do I just like shotgunning a beer? What's the deal here, man? The toothbrush always seems to get me when I'm washing the old tongue off. You know what I mean? And I'm just joking when I say this right now, just a little, comedic humor is what I'm throwing at you. But there's just so much that goes on in the ring that we can. It just blows my mind. It's like when you're trying to show somebody something at training, they want to go 100 miles an hour. And I'm like, dude, did you just see the speed I did it at? I've been doing this for a long time and I'm doing it at this speed. Why are you not doing it at this speed? And I get it, man. This is one of the hardest things you can do on the planet. We are simulating a fake fight. Yeah, you heard me. A fake fight that we want the audience who paid for tickets to believe is real. We want them to suspend their belief. So we're not going in there and really fighting someone. We're not really going in there and playing a competitive game that's live. We're live trying to protect somebody. I'm not trying to knock your head off with the forearm, but I want them to believe I knocked your head off with the forearm. And there's going to be contact. But if it's the right contact, if I'm doing it the correct way, if everything I'm doing is safely done and thrown the right way, we are going to get some handprints. I don't need you to rip my chest open. Please don't rip my chest open. You don't have to do it. I saw a couple shots in the ring, overhand chops at the Prospect show that I was just like, fuck. Damn it, you swung for the fence, man. Everything you had, fighting for your life. And then I ref 4 matches, right? My 44-year-old ass hobbled out of there, man, and going up and down and sliding in and counting and moving all over. And I'm sitting in the corner with the wall and the entryway where you shouldn't even be facing because the crowd's over here in the L. So I'm over here in this neutral corner that nobody should be in or going towards. And I felt like I was a fucking magnet because everybody just kept coming over to me. And then I'd have to get out of the way and my ass is facing the fans over here and I'm in the way of the cameras. And then as soon as they would break away, I'd scurry back across. I'd cut real quick across with a little back step to get back to my corner. But it's like, man, leave me the fuck alone over here. There was a point in one of these matches where I came back to the curtain and I'm blown up and I'm just covered in sweat. And I always see Sparky come back to the curtain and he's drenched. And those are matches where I know Sparky had to make like 25 counts in the match. You know what I mean? And, 10 near falls and shit. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, God, you really got to respect Sparky. And it's probably beneficial that he's got little short legs. You know what I mean? It's beneficial because I got really high hips and really long legs and just going down, up and down and up and down. I was gassed, man. I came back and I walked up to one of the wrestlers. I'm like, fuck, bro. I'm like, fuck, that's a lot of shit you did out there. You gassed me out. I was worn out. I went up to Karina and I was like, fuck, I apologize for talking shit about how slow you get up sometimes. Cause I'm like, you're older than I am. Maybe I said that live. And I bet it is hard on your body to be doing this. So being a referee is no joke either, man. especially 4 matches, because the guys who made it to the finals wrestled 3. And then here's my old ass after like limping out of there like an old man. And someone's like, hey, man, are you all right? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not okay. I would have rather wrestled to 25. I would have rather you choke slam me fucking 3 times, honestly, in one match than ref 4. I ref like 50 minutes of wrestling I had to have. Close to, maybe 35, 40 total. And I'm just fucking beat up. So much props out there to you referees, especially ones that are doing entire shows. You know, that's the best part about refereeing too, as we mentioned, that is, as the referee, you can still learn a lot just like us from bad wrestling. You know what I mean? Like you could ref a goddamn backyard wrestling show and learn so much more about refereeing because you're like, God damn, this is terrible stuff. How do I get in this position? What do I do here? Because this is so bad, man. But it's like, whoo.
Getting old sucks, as they say. I feel like I have old guys say that to me all the time. Hey, don't get old. It sucks. So yeah, no shit, man. I know that when I'm trying to tie my shoes in the morning, get out of bed, you haven't stretched out properly yet, which I never had to do as a kid, you know. So get out of bed and stretch out, because in case you just haven't rested your body for fucking 8 hours and you should be ready to go. You gotta warm up as you get out of bed. So yeah.
My lady friend said, she said, I've never seen someone put their shoes on like you are right now. I was like, what? So yeah, I've never seen anybody put. I said, well, how do people put their shoes on? She's not like that. You know, I get down on the ground. I wear ankle socks now. I wear nice, like loose ankle socks, and I get on the ground and I put one knee down and one foot up, and I lean over one leg and I put the ankle sock on and tie up one shoe good, and then I switch around, and then I push up off the bed to get up. But then there's the funny thing. The music plays and it's time for the match, and I walk out there and I'm no longer hobbling, and I'm good to go. And then when that match is over, I go back to being a cripple.
A
literal cripple.
That curtain is the magic line, man. You go through it, you're no longer in pain, then you come back through it, now you're back in pain.
What does Mick Foley feel like right now?
Oh man, I don't know, but that reminds me of the whole like the last ride, the Undertaker deal, where he's talking about like sometimes barely being able to walk, man, and then getting out to the ring and people can't tell the difference, right? You get out there, then you're in the zone, and somehow you're able to battle through, man. Somehow you're able to get through these matches, and then you're in the back and just laying on the ground or laying on the laying wherever, man. So getting it's crazy, man. Getting old is crazy.
That's what I told Rick. He kept yawning at the Hall of Fame. I said, yawn again, Rick. Dare you? And he yawned, and I stuck my finger in his mouth. You know, the funny thing was I forgot about how terrible I must have been at these after parties all these years when I was drinking, because one of my guys, it was a funny story real quick. One of my guys, as I was leaving and I was backing out, I left early. I left at like 11:45. And I told Spark, I said, hey, doors open, lights on, waters and sodas in the small fridge, towels under the thing. Help yourself, man. Spare rooms ready for you. And as I was leaving, one of my guys was walking down the sidewalk away from the bar, and I pulled up to him. I don't want to say his name. And I said, hey, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm just too drunk and too high. I'm going to go lay down in my car. And I looked at him and I said, have a good night, pussy, as I drove off. You know what I mean? And then Rick and Sparky, because Rick told me the story. He's like, yeah, before you left, that same guy came out and he gave me a hug, and he told me he was too drunk and too high, and he went out to his car. I said, well, that must have been like literally simultaneously happening. I must have hugged you and told you bye and Spark, and then this guy must have walked out and talked to you and then crossed paths with me down the road as I was backing out. But I just found it funny. I'm like, oh man, this guy's crossfaded, huh? He was really going for it. And I just remember waking up the next morning really early and getting over to the building and setting up the ring. And so many people showed up late, or they showed up and they're like, oh, I got a headache. And I was like, I do not miss that, man. Like I always say, if I could go back, if I knew then what I know now, and it's like, well, you didn't know. And it took those moments to gain this experience. So that's what running back to what I was saying. These young wrestlers, whoever, even if you're old wrestlers that are young wrestlers, you're going to go, man, I know so much more now. I wish I would have known back then. And it's like, well, you didn't. So that's why we're here. And that's why we're telling you what we're telling you, is so that if you want to, sometimes you got to learn yourself. But if I'm telling you something so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made, and you can be better off than I am, and we'll see you down the road in the future. I don't tell you to work hard because I get off on watching you sweat all over the place. We talked about that one episode. I don't want you to sweat all over me. I want you to take the least amount of steps possible. I'm getting a step tracker, and I'm going to put it on my hip, and I'm going to wrestle like a 10, 15-minute match at class, and I'm going to record how many steps that match took me. And then I'm going to hand it to the next guy, and I'm going to say, all right, you're going to wrestle the same time, and I want to see if you can get less steps than I did. And just little things like that, I think, are going to help people out. Like, if
Right.
you're trying to hit a time, if you're trying to take less steps than me, and you make a challenge out of it to these students, they're going to pick it up.
Absolutely. Well, and you think about guys that you hear the announcer say they have no wasted motion, right? I know Randy Orton is a guy that is notorious for that, right? Everything means something. There's no wasted steps. There's no wasted motion. Everything means something, right? So, making that a challenge and making people aware, like, hey, because you see so many people, the happy feet, all the different stuff where you're just like, you're moving too much, man. Just fucking calm down and slow up, just all these different things where you go, the less is more concept, right? You don't have to do all this stuff, man. You don't have to move around all over the place. Just trying to, so you're not wasting motion. You gotta gag yourself over there with the finger dick. So, but yeah, it's crazy that you have to do that. That we're saying that, hey, you're moving around too much, or you're going too fast, like slow down, all these different things. But it's only because we've done that. That's the way that we started. I know moving 100 miles an hour, trying to get as much in a match as possible, and we talk about being one of the guys that's going to be a quote unquote jobber or an enhancement guy or whatever, and being pissed off because you only got 3 minutes to wrestle. It's like, well, eventually you're going to show that you can take 3 minutes and do a good job with it, and then you're going to get 5 minutes and you're going to do a good job with that, and then 8 and 10 and 15 and 20, right? You're going to get to that stage, but you're also going to find out that you probably, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, those 10, 15-minute matches, you're going to be doing not much more than you were when you started off doing 3 or 5 minute matches, because you're rushing to put everything into those things, and instead of stretching it out and doing all the same stuff, but taking you 12 or 15 minutes to do it. So it's definitely, obviously it's a learning experience. It's one of those things that, we're, as much as we want to say, hey, I made these mistakes and just listen to me so you won't make them. So many people, I think, need to make the mistakes on their own to go, oh shit, that's what they were talking about. A lot of times you're going to learn from your own mistakes more than just listening to a mistake that somebody else made, unfortunately.
how do you cram all that gram into one of those little golden grams? You know, the old cereal question. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul, drum roll, please. Let's get ready. Let's start making 5 minutes remain in the podcast. 5 minutes remain. Yeah, no, a lot of talent out there. You know, one thing I noticed was there was a young talent that I was searching for from a show. I was very impressed by this young talent a while back at a show, and I searched for him through every promotion to try to find out who he was. And as time has gone on, I've noticed that this person is no longer watching the monitor. This person is no longer a quiet, humble wrestler. He's no longer listening to things that are out there. He's doing his own things. And, you know, sometimes that's the way the business works, man. You get these young kids and you put them over, you say some really positive things about them and really boost them up, and then they get little egos on themselves too, and then you see stuff. But I don't know, man. I just look around and I listen and I stay connected to other professional wrestlers and what's going on. I'm pretty excited about this weekend. I'm hopping in the car with Mr. Reno and a few other people, and gonna go down and Stars of Wrestling has the new Starplex. I was watching some stuff on the live. I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna, that can't be cheap. So I'm gonna go down there and support another wrestling company and support one of my wrestlers. And then on Saturday, I'm gonna head on down to the Ugly Dojo matinee show. And Sunday, I'll start training again. Then we'll do another podcast. And it's just going to be another weekend of professional wrestling, which I would not have it any other way, man. I spent 4 hours and 10 minutes back and forth on the phone today and talking to one of my former favorite wrestlers in my company that's coming back. And it felt like a negotiation, and I realize how blessed I am today to have so many people, because there was like 4 or 5 people I talked to in this conversation back and forth to make sure everybody was cool with something. And I'm like, how cool is it that all these people care so much about what's going on? I used to tell my talent, like, how come you come here to PCW and you question what you're doing and this and that so much, and then I see you somewhere else and you don't give a fuck? You just do whatever they ask you to do and don't even care or complain. And I'm blessed that I have so many people around me that give a shit about what's going on and where the stories are going and their character and when they're coming back. And I'm just blessed for that, man. I just want to say I'm truly grateful for that. And I'm truly grateful for you in this business and all these opportunities I get every weekend. I'm definitely not grateful for those dogs out there that are barking and making a bunch of noise. They're gonna get it here in less than 2 minutes. That's for sure. What are you grateful for, Paul?
Oh man, I think I've talked about it on the Thanksgiving episode, man. I feel like this, especially this past year, man. There's been a lot of people that have kind of, blessed us with, their presence. Whether it's somebody that's helping us promote or somebody that's, putting up flyers or giving business ideas, sponsorship stuff. You with what you bring to the table, storyline wise, and putting things in perspective, and just getting to interact with some of the older guys, the Boys to Grands and things like that, and just hearing their ideas, man. Guys that have good ideas about pro wrestling and stuff, because I constantly feel like I don't know everything, man. I have I don't want to say pressure. It's like, I've got responsibility on my shoulders to put things together. And it's like, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, man. I need to bounce ideas off of people, get some feedback and things like that. So you can try to be more successful. You want to grow what you're doing and do better. So I'm hoping that that's what's going to be the result of 2025 is going to be a fruitful 2026, going to some different towns and some new shows and things like that. So hopefully that's what's in the in the cards. So
Hell yeah.
that's what I'm grateful for.
Well, for Paul Isadora and Zach Primetime Reeb, do us a favor. We've been stuck at 298 for a while. Hit that little subscribe number over there. Hit that little button and do us a favor. We're going over.